He's with us, and I trust this man with everything. And you know what? I was thinking about you tonight, and I was thinking, she doesn't need a security guard here. This is her security guard out here. We're all in here. I trust every one of these people.
If MarkCarney wins, good luck. I think half the people are going to leave the country. Alberta's going to separate. If Alberta separates, I'm pretty sure Quebec's going to get the same idea, and MarkCarney will be on his little throne all by himself, pretending like he's the king of Canada. But he won't be. He'll be the king of a broken country.
Tomorrow, we're going to be kicking off 100 days of change. And it involves passing 3 sweeping change bills. It's going to be the Affordability for a Change Act, the Bring Home Our Jobs for a Change Act, the Safe Streets for a Change Act, and we will keep Parliament open all summer long until every single one of these bills is passed for a change.
Alexa here, live from the Stanley Olde Maple Line Farm in the Carleton riding, Pierre Poilievre's home turf, where he's just wrapped up his final campaign rally. And tomorrow, Canadians who haven't yet cast their ballots will head to the polls. And today, I took the time to speak with Conservative supporters about, first of all, major headlines that have been published on legacy media, and especially the Globe and Mail, about Pierre Poilievre, who might lose his own riding. But yet, on the very day that story ran, polls still gave him a 93% chance of winning. So I'm asking the rally goers, what do they make of these mixed signals? And if MarkCarney wins tomorrow, would they want Pierre Poilievre to remain the party leader? And what do they think will happen to Canadians, especially the West, if Carney wins tomorrow? So let's hear what they have to say today. But as you will see, the turnout was massive. Let's check it out.
The point of the story is get out and vote. Vote for change. Vote for a brighter future. Vote for your kids. Allons voter pour le changement. There is so much at stake in this election, my friends.
Why was it important for you to be at the last rally of Pierre Poilievre?
Well, I'm a local. I come from the Smith Falls and Carleton Place area. I went to the one in Kingston. I just want to show my support on the last day, and hopefully this really goes our way. We really need it this time.
I want to hear really what Pierre says in person. Hear things on TV and it's kind of snippets. Obviously, you know, with legacy media, they give their spin. Guys like yourselves, I hear more both sides of the story from you guys. But I want to hear what he has to say himself. If I could, I would have been at MarkCarney's event as well. And just here. I already made up my mind, of course, because it seemed like the obvious choice. But I want to be here to kind of experience everything myself.
I actually think that this is the most important election in my time. We have a 5-year-old son at home where we can determine his future through the political process. And the fact that I'm not alone here makes me actually feel warm inside.
Well, I think he's run a fantastic campaign, and I believe that there's a lot of support, and this really shows how much support there is out there.
We need him to win. I mean, I think he just needs the most support everywhere he goes. I think he knows he's got it, but it's important to show it, like especially, you know, to the media and stuff, because God knows what they're reporting, so yeah.
I've really liked what Pierre's message is, so I'm just excited to be here and support it before tomorrow.
Well, you know, I met Pierre Poilievre about a year ago, and he introduced my son's band in Canada during Canada Day, and the man took an hour out of his time and went backstage with us. And he was one of us. He's not above us. He doesn't think that we're his minions. He's with us. And I trust this man with everything. And you know what? I was thinking about you tonight, and I was thinking, she doesn't need a security guard here. This is her security guard out here. We're all in here. I trust every one of these people. And why I'm here tonight, to thank him for his hard work over the years. I'm so proud this man has over 20 years in this business. We need experience. We don't need a billionaire again. We need to get hope. We need to get a future for our young people. And we need to be united, because we are Canada, one of the best countries in the world. Amen.
Some headlines of the mainstream media were saying that Pierre Poilievre might not win his riding. How did you react, and what was your thoughts about that?
Well, he got his ride in the last 4 elections, 3, 4, so he's going to get his election. That's for sure. He's going to get his riding. The funny part would be if Carney didn't get his riding. And then he had to sit on the back bench. I don't think he's going to win anyways, so.
And it's so funny, especially considering you come up here. I think I counted 10 Pierre Poilievre signs all in a row. I see them everywhere all around Nepean. I work around in the area, so I see them a lot. I see some neighborhoods where it seems to be a little bit more congregated for MarkCarney signs, but it seems like overall there's more Pierre Poilievre. I just can't see how anyone could take another 4 years of this, honestly. It's, yeah.
So I think most of us know that the mainstream media outlets are mostly leftist, and they're going to be with the Liberals and supporting the Liberal agenda and stuff like that. So, yeah, I have confidence that both Pierre Poilievre is going to win his riding and the election.
I don't believe it. He's been in a riding and he's won it so many times in a row, I think since 2004, that I don't see why all of a sudden everyone must have moved out of his riding, right? If he's not going to get the votes again. So I don't see why all of a sudden everybody in his riding would change their mind. So I don't believe any of it.
I didn't put a lot of merit to that because, as we all know, the media has been so biased for so long now. I myself started to see that the media was pretty biased about 2018. So many things could just be proven so factually wrong. The media would say something, you could go online, you could look it up yourself and see that they're just full of BS.
I know that some guy created or a group created a list with 80 to 100 other candidates on it. I think that's crazy. I get the idea they're trying to show how our systems can kind of be rigged or whatever, but that's the kind of thing that actually is complete opposite. From what I've seen, the turnout, he's actually winning his riding, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's kind of a shame that would be a tactic used, and particularly against one side or the other. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but that's what we saw.
Well, and Jordan Peterson's podcast recently sent a little bit of fear into our home. So I think the polls are wrong. When I talk to people at work, when I talk to people in my community, I hope the polls are wrong, and I hope tomorrow that we show that the people's voice matters. So
not too long ago, shut CBC off for good. And we barely watch 5 minutes of CTV. And then we go right to YouTube because we're sick and tired of either no news or junk.
Absolutely ridiculous. And it's just another ploy to discredit him, to make him look like a loser. The man is not a loser, number one. And I don't know if you know this, but the number of candidates riding in his election are something like 91 candidates. Come on a ballot. That's another Liberal ploy, and it's just dirty pool.
You know, they don't have anything else, right? All they can do is just make up stories. It's like gossip. It's kind of silly. It's childish.
In a perspective where, example, tomorrow, the Liberals are winning.
Yep.
Would you want Pierre Poilievre to stay as the leader of the Conservative Party?
Yeah, I don't see there's a need to change. He's actually just got in from O'Toole not too long ago. He's the strongest person to be the opposition as it is. I don't see anything happening from the other parties, especially not Jagmeet Singh, not my favorite person right now. But from what I could see, he's the perfect person to continue on and being the opposition if necessary.
Definitely. I think him as an opposition critic, the work that he's done for our movement in the House has been trailblazing, and I think he can continue to do good work. I think, unfortunately, there will have to be some review of things that perhaps could have been done better. But again, this is a very divided political election this time around. So whatever happens at the end of it, we're going to have to take lessons learned from that and move forward. So
We were just talking about it with my friend there. I was saying, like, if Pierre can't win, I don't know who would win. So I don't know who they could possibly replace him with.
Absolutely, but I'm not really worried about them winning tomorrow. Yeah, but I absolutely would. I think Pierre's great. His message is great. I like everything that his whole platform's on.
I would. I mean, we all see him in the House of Commons. He does amazing work, you know, and I would really like to see him. He has a really good team behind him, and obviously that's kind of a doomsday scenario, as some people say, but I would like to see him, yes.
I mean, look at that rally he had. What was it, in Edmonton? Was it Edmonton or Calgary? 10,000, more than 10,000? Like that's a record for Canadian politicians, right? So that's history in the making. So
What do you think can happen to the West and Canada if MarkCarney is winning?
Well, I think we should all move from Ontario to Alberta.
Do you think Alberta will separate?
I don't know. I hope they don't separate, but I can't blame them.
I hope the West doesn't talk more about separation. Canada's my home. I've born, grown, and raised in Canada. And I've always wanted to even consider moving to the West. But them talking about separating, it breaks my heart. I don't want to hear that. I'm actually just kind of positive that we're going to win. And we don't have to hear any talk about that, and we'll get the country going back in the direction it should be.
Considering MarkCarney was actually Trudeau's advisor for like so long, I feel like it's just going to be 4 more years of the same exact thing that we've gotten. You look at his policy, it's another, $225 billion onto our national debt. Like that's money that my generation, my kids are gonna have to pay off, and I don't understand how that's fair to us personally. I think it's ridiculous.
Honestly, they might separate. They might do the referendum. Who knows? They might also come here and tell everybody a piece of their mind. I don't know.
And the situation for Canadians, what do you think it would have?
I think it'll be disastrous. Honestly, I think it'll be the end of Canada. I have 3 young kids, and I don't see them staying here or living here when they get older. Yeah.
Scary. I don't like the level of socialism that just seems to keep ramping up and up and up. There is an awful lot of talk about Western separatization, where they might decide to separate, and I think that there's a potential reality in that. I don't think that there's a great future in Canada if the Liberals win.
It's going to be a very interesting future. I think there's going to be a lot of disarray in Canada, especially even parts of the East, not even the West, but obviously the West, as we all know, Saskatchewan and Alberta is going to be in really rough times, especially with the industrial carbon tax and the emissions cap staying in place, and it's going to be a really, really rough time for the whole country if this happens and this goes this way. But obviously, we all hope that doesn't happen. But it's going to be extremely rough, especially for my generation, you know, and especially that housing being so ridiculous the way it is and everything. It's really hard to imagine a good way that this can go if MarkCarney wins.
Personally, if I was the West, and I love this country, my people, my French side of the family, we've been here since 1634. The last thing I want to see is separation either with Alberta or with Quebec. But you know, there comes a time when you have to say, I can't live in a fascist state anymore.
if MarkCarney wins, good luck. I think half the people are going to leave the country. Alberta's going to separate. If Alberta separates, I'm pretty sure Quebec's going to get the same idea, and MarkCarney will be on his little throne all by himself, pretending like he's the king of Canada. But he won't be. He'll be the king of a broken country.
We see that the people who are voting mostly liberals are the 50, 60 years old and more. How do you react to that?
I think it's absolutely crazy. I'm a boomer. I'm 75 years old. And I can tell you a lot of my friends, a lot of my families are boomers, and they support Poilievre. And the polls, I think, are skewed to the nth degree. And we will find out tomorrow.
When I kept seeing that about the boomers, and I felt like, gee, they don't know what they're talking about. Because I'm a boomer, and we went to the first rally in Ottawa, and there was lots of boomers there, and that was at the beginning. So they didn't know what they were talking about.
I mean, we all know that obviously they don't have the responsibilities or the goals that us younger people have in this country. I mean, we're all just starting out. I'm 20 years old. I'm just starting my life. Of course, I want to have a house and a beautiful family, beautiful home, just as Pierre says, you know. And it's obviously that people that have their houses paid off and they live in retirement residence and stuff like that, they watch the news and they only see Trump on the headlines, and that's the only thing that they're driven by. They're driven by fear. We are driven by hope for the younger generation. We want a future in this country, so we have to vote to give that to us.
Do you think that, you know, the coverage have actually played against Pierre Poilievre?
By the legacy media, for sure. That's to be expected because he says things that they disagree with, and obviously they're not going to cover him favorably. So yeah, I never watch the mainstream media, the legacy media. Most of what they say I think is lies, so yeah.
When you see that some columnists and legacy media are trying to portray Mr. Poilievre as a Trumpist.
A Trump? Oh, he's anything but. He has stood up from day one about Trump. But he did not slam the door. But you know what he did? He left the door open a crack for negotiation. Carney's coming off as this big tough guy. Well, we don't believe that for 1 minute. He's not the tough guy he thinks he is. And you know what? You need to negotiate. They're the biggest trade partners that we have. But we're not pushovers either. We're very kind. We're very gentle people until.
Seniors who still have their adult children living in the basement and want them to have a house so that there can be grandkids and a brighter future. Have hope. Change is on the way for you too. All of the people who no longer recognize the country but are anxious to bring home the nation that we knew and still love. Have hope. Change is on the way. That is the promise of Canada. It is my life's work to restore and uphold that promise for you and for all Canadians. Tomorrow is the day. Vote for the Canadian promise. Vote for change. Let's bring it home.
We follow this election campaign pretty closely. If you want to watch our report, you can do so at campaign2025.com. If you want to support our journalism, you can also make a donation. And please keep supporting our hard work, and thank you for supporting us.